Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
I'm still here.
Dad's
Hello.
diamond. Hey! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Related to Geeks podcast, the podcast about a geeky family. This is episode 1, original air date Thursday, August 6th, 2015. My name's Megan, and I am the youngest of the siblings, and tonight with us we have Sarah.
Hello.
Kirsten.
I simply acknowledge you.
Ah. And our father, Harry Larry.
Yep, I'm here.
So to explain a little bit about how this podcast works, we're going to start with our segment 1, which is what's caused us to geek out lately. Then we'll take a quick break, go into our topic of the week, and then after that, we'll have our pick of the week. And then we'll wrap it up, and that will be our podcast. So that pretty much sums it up, don't you think?
Got it.
Sure, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, all right, we're good. All right, so I'm just going to pick someone at random, and let's start with Kier. Kier, what's caused you to geek out lately?
Well, I've started working on an old board game idea and a new mechanic that I think is going to work really well. But simply put, there's a lot of kingdom builder games out there where you're working to build a castle or a city or something like that. And I wanted to do something like that, except with orcs. And the idea behind the game is that you have to assign your orcs to do certain tasks, but it's going to be almost impossible to assign all of your orcs to do tasks. And any orcs that you can't assign to do tasks just end up tearing your kingdom apart. So, if you leave the orcs idle, they just break things, and you have to assign as many as you can work, but you can never really assign all of them. Right now, I'm describing
Kinda
it
like
as...
teenagers.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
I was relating it to lemmings, only instead of being self-destructive when you leave them idle, they destroy other things.
Yeah, orcs are fascinated with entropy. That's a thing that you have to understand about orcs and 4-year-olds.
Basically the same thing.
That's what I always thought.
Yeah, I would describe the current mechanic as Alien Frontiers meets Galaxy Trucker.
One of those games I'm a huge fan of.
I have heard of those games.
I really
Alien
like Alien Frontiers.
Alien Frontiers, you roll dice, and those are your workers, and you have to place dice in certain combinations. So in the game, the orcs are dice, which I think is a perfect analogy. Orcs are just random mishmash of stuff, and hard to control, unpredictable. And in Galaxy Trucker, you build a ship as best as you can, and then you go on a little flight, and your ship falls to pieces as it gets raided by pirates and dinged by asteroids and so on and so forth.
And it's the real-time building of that game that I'm not crazy about. So your game doesn't sound like it would have that.
No, this is you roll dice and you use those dice as best you can given the action spaces you have, and then whatever dice are left over, depending on what face is up, that's how they destroy what you have just built.
And the dice will be green?
Absolutely. How could they not be?
Well, the orcs in the Lord of the Ring movies are brown, so.
Yeah, well...
It's wrong.
Orcs everywhere else are green.
All right.
I don't care if Tolkien invented orcs.
Do they have green blood? Alien orcs?
Are your dice going to be green on the inside if I cut one of them in half? Will it be green on the inside?
Oh, please don't do that.
I don't know.
Dice brutality.
Wow.
I think so.
Not quite sure. All right. All right. Anything else, Kier?
Well, that's what I've been geeking out mainly about this week. We have a superhero game day at the library, a local library that we run games at, and I'm extremely excited about that. We've actually got the local comic book store coming in to run some hero clicks for us for our superhero game day. So I think that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I hope I get to make it out to that. Sounds neat.
I love how I put that. No, that's pretty much it, except for this other thing that I'm super excited about, and here's why.
There we go. Hey, that's what it's for. All right. How about you, Pops?
Well, I got two quick things. The family game, that's just great. Carl's DMing for and bringing back characters and everything from 15, 20 years ago, so yay, family game. And then also, I've been working on a system for Wendolyn, and the alpha version didn't quite run Minecraft, and so I got a bid on a E8400 HP system, and maybe I'll get it. It's a
Maybe.
dual core 3 gigahertz system that will run Minecraft, so then we'll just move the other stuff over into the hard drive and that stuff.
I tell you,
Is that sounding?
if we would have flashed back a couple of weeks, Minecraft would have been my geek out of the week for sure. I was super into it for about a week and a half, and then it became Minecraft again. Are you asking if Dad sounds a little off?
Well, the plan here is for Wendy and Kier to be able to play Minecraft together, on each with their own system.
Yeah. Dad, you're sounding a little electronic. You're cutting in
not
pretty bad.
surprising. Yeah, really, I'm robot Dad.
Yeah.
All I know is now, in like a week or two, when Wendy gets her new computer, I'm going to have a new thing to be geeked out about.
There you go.
All right, Sarah.
Well, speaking of the group that Kier was speaking about earlier, I actually got to attend 2 events this past week that the group did, which is amazing for me because I live about 2 hours away. But we had a event at a local restaurant and did board games, and I got to play quite a few board games. And then we did another one. Yeah, you were. And then we did another event that following Monday, and it was just kind of a impromptu because there have been some interest in some game design meetings, and my daughter and Kier are working on a game design together, so he wanted to schedule it around a time he knew she was going to be in town. So we got to do that, and I got to play board games that night as well, and that's really exciting for me because normally I play board games a lot with my family, but it's just the 3 of us, and it's always nice to experience games that I don't get to play all the time and play with other people. So I've been lucky enough that I got to introduce some new people to a new game, which I absolutely love, and I got to play some games that I don't get to play very often that I absolutely love. So it's pretty awesome. And then I'll be there Saturday too, so I'm kind of excited about that.
I got to play in the game design part that Murder Mystery game. Kier will tell you the name. I don't remember the guy's name, but that game was pretty cool.
Yeah, the guy's name was Blake, and I believe the game was called Detective Town, where everyone's detective, but one guy is also a killer. He has 2 jobs.
2 jobs.
So which one's by day and which one's by night? You've got the choice between detective and killer.
I always think of the detective job as being like a nighttime thing, so I guess the murderer would be during the day.
He kills during the day. Well, if everybody's a detective, then everybody's asleep during the day, so that's the time to murder people.
Right. I think so.
Well, actually, the time that people get murdered is before the game starts. Just before the game starts.
Okay.
Yep.
And
Someone's got
Father Brown. How everybody really likes Father Brown, and he's so nice, and you know what I'm saying. But man, I don't want him coming to our parish. He went to some parish down the road, and man, they had a murder every week. That guy's dangerous.
I guess I'm next, aren't I?
You're the only one left.
Yeah, I have been playing BioShock Infinite because I am super late to the party, as always. And I have been enjoying it. I really enjoyed the first BioShock, and then, of course, BioShock 2 happened, and that wasn't really meant to be BioShock, but kind of was BioShock, or it was one of those where they forced out a sequel rather than actually letting the guys who created BioShock do something they wanted to do. But BioShock Infinite's been a lot of fun so far, but I do have a slight rant about the PS3, which, Sarah, your husband will enjoy this because I know how he feels about Sony, but I played it the first night. I just stuck the disc in and played it the first night, no problems. Didn't have any weirdness at all. The second day, I tried to boot up the system, and it was convinced that it had to do an update. And I tried to do this update over and over and over again, and it just kept locking up and not doing the update. Well, it doesn't give you any option to skip the update. And I did a lot of research, and I worked on this for about an hour trying to figure out workarounds. And a lot of people just said, you just got to keep trying until it goes. You know, there's no way to fix it. Well, it wasn't like I needed this update to play the game. I'd played the game the night before and didn't have any problems. I didn't need any online functionality from the game. It's a single-player game, so I ended up going into the system and disabling the internet so that I could play the game without it looking for an update and freezing the system. That was how I ended up playing the game the second day around. So that was fun.
Very geeky.
Very, very geeky. I had to disable the internet, and I love the internet. It kind of hurt me in my soul to do something like that. But I had to disable the internet on the console so I could play the video game. So there you go. I know that there's a lot of rants out there about the PlayStation 3's update thing, but you know, a lot of it has to do with the size of the files. This was a 33 megabyte file that was holding me up. It just wouldn't connect. So that was frustrating, to say the least. But the game's good. I enjoy the game.
Well, when our internet gets disabled, we're okay for about 90 minutes, and then the internet withdrawal kicks in really bad, and we both go crazy.
Yeah, internet withdrawal, serious business. Serious business.
We have to talk to each other and stuff.
Yeah. Which right now we're using the internet to talk to each other, so there's some irony there, but I know what you're talking about. All right. So I think this wraps up our What's Caused Us to Geek Out Lately section, so we're going to take a break.
You're listening to the Related to Geeks podcast, hosted on our website, relatedtogeeks.com, and on our YouTube channel.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is our topic of the week. This week we will be discussing growing up geek and how it has shaped our lives today. So we're just going to kind of have a free-flowing conversation about this. So anybody just throw in what you're thinking right now.
Well, I want to start by saying that I think that one of the most interesting things about our family and growing up geek is that there's such a large age range. I am 16, almost 17 years older than Megan, and we're almost like different generations within the same family. So my experience of growing up geek is pretty different from Megan's.
Yeah, she used to play the Atari.
I did. That's how old I am.
And Megan has to play emulators to play all the good games.
No, there are lots and lots of similarities too, but I mean,
really, it's just the game systems that's changed.
That's it. That's all it is. Everything else is exactly the same. Hey, it's mostly just the difference.
Well, when I was growing up, geek, there weren't even computers.
Yeah, he had the real challenge.
There were, but not. I was a chess geek.
Chess geek. Oh, I love chess. I will say that passed on. You did well, sir. Yeah, I was pretty much hopeless because not only was I being raised by parents who are geeks, but I was being raised by older siblings who are geeks. So I didn't have a chance. And I was by like age like 3 or 4, running, computer games in DOS and, playing D&D and doing all this stuff. Mom actually brought out it's really cool, Sarah, you have to look at it, but Mom brought out notes from some D&D games that we did like 20 years ago. So I was like 4 at the time. And like you can like flip through and you can see my notes that I put in there with Mom because I was helping her. There was air quotes there. There was air quotes there when I said helping her. It doesn't really come through on the podcast, but it was fun to look through because obviously I had no memory of it, but it was a lot of fun to look through and see the little embellishments I had.
One of the biggest things for me is when I started 8th grade, my parents started homeschooling me, and it definitely has affected me in my adult life because I am now homeschooling my daughter, who is starting her, first year of high school this year, which is insane to me. But, I think that really, that homeschooling experience as a teenager really helped shape me a lot in the ways I view education, in the ways I view just allowing the creativity that happens naturally and the learning that happens naturally. And I really think I would be a totally different person had I not had that experience growing up. And of course, I had been public schooled up until 7th grade, which is something that both of y'all, both Megan and Kier, didn't. They were homeschooled from kindergarten on, so definitely a way.
Yeah, and I work with a lot of high school aged youth, and they all go to public school. They all go to the same school. They all talk about stuff that's going on in the school and ask my advice on it. I'm just like, I don't know. I graduated in a class of 1, so I'm very little help to you. But it does allow you to explore education in a different way and really pursue what you're interested in, which makes it seem like you're super intelligent, but really you're just looking at what you want to look at. You're learning about the things
you're focused.
Yeah, you're learning about the things you want to learn about rather than just whatever the teacher's shoving down your throat and the 20 to 30 other kids that make up your class.
Or in my case, the things you want to learn about and writing.
Yeah.
Because you could ask Mom how much I liked her teaching me how to write when I was in 8th grade. We were just having a conversation about this because it's also my daughter's least favorite thing to do. So,
in many ways, the public schools teach you how to not like to learn stuff.
Yeah, and I love learning. Learning's the best.
Yeah.
I have no memory, so like I can learn something and the next day completely forget it because I didn't learn by memorization. I learned by, just research and reading and things like that. So things do not stay in my head as long as some public schoolers may, but
then you get to learn them again, and that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's like rediscovering things over and over and over again. And there's some things that I've done that to the point where I've got it because I led a Sunday school class this week where we actually discussed concepts like evolution and the Big Bang and things like that and how they fit into things in the Bible and how they don't necessarily contradict each other. And one of my youth members actually looked at me at one point and was like, "Are you like a science teacher? How do you know all this stuff?" And I'm just like, I'm a nerd. That's the only explanation I can give you, but it's true.
Well, speaking back to homeschooling and Mom and role-playing, one of my favorite memories of being homeschooled is for a while there, Mom taught my brother and I history through a role-playing game that she made where we played time agents who would go back in time to learn the mysteries of the past. And
that's awesome.
Like, that is one of the single most amazing things. And I remember we visited various time periods to learn about that era of history and what went on there, and we were trying to learn like the secret of the Minotaur or some other mystery in history. And one of the things that was my brother and I actually came up with in the game that was just so clever to us was this wasn't like on necessarily on the up and up. So there was a dummy corporation at the forefront, and I remember that we decided that the dummy corporation was called Dummy Corp, and they made crash test dummies, and that was their front.
Makes sense. That's pretty awesome, though.
I feel like that is a role-playing game that should exist and should be played as an educational tool. I mean, that was an amazing time.
Obviously that was not part of what my homeschooling experience was, but I had some pretty awesome homeschooling experiences too. Mostly, I was very interested in theater at the time, so Mom set up with the local college the ability for myself and my younger sister, who's she's about 2 years younger than me, and we went up to the college and kind of made the rotation through the departments, and they all took us in really well and kind of talked about what they did and the different aspects of theater. And I ended up majoring in theater in college at the same school because I think it just helped me see that it was something that I was very interested in and something I wanted to learn about. And being homeschooled gave us the flexibility to do that because we could go there during the day, take these kind of like mini classes and learn about stuff we were very, very interested in. We acted at, the local community theater and stuff like that during this time as well. And it just opened up some possibilities that may not have existed as an extra to public schooling.
Yeah,
just because of the time.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't really realize who have, teenage children that they can, if they show an interest in a particular field, they can reach out to their local college or try to contact some, professors and who specialize in that and just have them, even if it's just some email conversations, they're usually more than willing. I know I did some of that with photography before I went off to college, where in my senior year I did kind of assignments on the college level where I contacted the local professor who taught photography, and he gave me assignments and I did it, and we did it all through email, and he would basically give me a grade based on how I did, and it was kind of a warm-up for it. So certainly
we also did Indian archaeology and earthquakes, and got real experts.
Yes. And this was even back when I was being homeschooled, because we had such an awesome resource there in the college, first of all, and people who are very willing to share their knowledge. But we also I remember that the earthquake, we went through was it the extension service, or I don't know, it was not part of the college. It was
the guy that they had on the television all the time, the earthquake expert. He taught at the college, and we spent some time. We went to his house. Now, we may have done some other stuff, museum type stuff.
Okay. I remember going to like an office somewhere, but I did not think it was at the campus. So it may have been a different guy, too.
It was at his house.
Okay.
I just remember growing up that you learn very quickly not to ever be bored, because if you mentioned being bored around mom or dad, then you instantly had like to go write a story or work 100 math problems or do something with your time.
Well,
and so
You know what I think is interesting about that is in my adult life, and I don't know if this is common with adults or not, maybe we're just all more busy, but I don't ever experience boredom as an adult. There's always something that I can be working on or looking up or learning about. Even
I think it's probably a product of your raising. You were raised not ever to be bored, so now as an adult, you're not ever bored.
Yeah,
I
usually.
always find something that I want to do. There's not enough time to do everything I want to do.
That's my
That's
issue.
usually the situation.
That's my issue.
And I know that that's a common adult problem too. But I'm not an adult who is constantly on the run, going places for her children or all of that. I have one kid, and we don't really, honestly, do a whole lot outside of our home during the weekdays. I'm not running around like doing a million things. And I know that a lot of people who are in my situation with teenage kids, but
yeah, but there's also a great number of adults who they get home at the end of the workday and they watch TV and then they go to bed, and then on the weekends they watch movies or TV and sports, and then they go to work the next week, and that's what they do. And
there's some of that goes on here for sure, but but we always seem to have
that strikes me as a rather boring life. I want to be doing things and making things and reading things and going out and experiencing new things, and I think that that's a big product of how we were raised, to constantly want to expand our horizons and figure things out, and that said, I remember watching quite a bit of cartoons and movies and TV and things like that growing up too. So
oh, I definitely did. So even on our limited amount of TV that we had available to us, because we were in an area that only got 2 channels, and I grew up, obviously before the internet and Netflix and all of that, and we didn't have cable for my years either.
All right, quick, just round the room. Favorite PBS show growing up?
Oh, Arthur. I'm just gonna throw that out right now. It has to be for me.
I mean, it depends. Like, what I'm thinking is, when I was a teenager, I think mine was probably Nova. But as a kid, it was probably Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Like, as a young kid.
I remember loving, I think it was called Square One, and especially MathNet.
Yes, I remember watching that with you. I was probably a little old for it when it came on, but I watched it anyway.
Well, I was probably a little old for Arthur, but no, I take that back. Arthur's good no matter how old you are.
Yeah, I'll still sit down and watch Arthur. Don't mess with my show. Don't mess with my show. This show's great.
I'd come home every day from work and watch Sesame Street, but I have to go with Doctor Who.
I remember watching Doctor Who with Mom and Dad. That was the best. I loved watching Doctor Who growing up, and now that they're doing the new series, I've been watching Doctor Who with my daughter, and she loves Doctor Who.
See, I was like the Doctor Who holdout. I watched it, but it was not ever like, oh yay, Doctor Who's on, I can't wait. I was not in that camp. And I have not watched any of the new series, which is probably blasphemy or something. But
I've watched all of the new series, and now I'm going back and watching all of the classic series again.
Now, I have, my husband has tried to watch the new series, and I have suggested to him that maybe he should start with, like, Tom Baker or something, because I think that he would really enjoy that character.
Well, and I think he's also of the mindset that Doctor Who has got to have that certain level of cheese and B-movie quality that some of the new series has kind of steered away from, and now it's, more of a, high-budget blockbuster adventure every week. Whereas, before, you were lucky if your main actor remembered his lines.
They just don't make the aliens like they used to.
I will say,
Now it's all
yeah, I will say the first iteration of the Daleks in the new series were remarkably similar to the Daleks of the old series. They've adjusted them slightly year to year since then, but
what's incredible about it to me is I remember first seeing the Cybermen in the new series, and it is 100% exactly how I remember them in the original series growing up watching it when I was, 6 or 7 years old. And then I go back and I watch the original series, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that guy's wearing sweatpants.
Oh, the mind of a 6-year-old. It's a man of armor.
Yeah, the Doctor Who used to require work on the audience to imagine what they were trying to portray.
Well, I would say that as far as how growing up as a geek has shaped my life today, if anything else, and this is probably partly a product of, being homeschooled as well, is it's allowed me to kind of be a jack of all trades. I literally have 1,000 hobbies. That goes back to that idea of never being bored. But it's helped me a lot in my career as a journalist because, what I was told very early on while going to school was that to be a journalist, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades and be really able to adapt quickly and learn stuff quickly. And I was just like, yep, this is for me because I can do all of that. So it's allowed me to have that flexibility and to, I equate things like, playing video games growing up helped me with my ability for spatial reasoning and following directions and understanding how to get somewhere and get back without getting lost. And that happens a lot whenever you have to go report somewhere and you have to go find somebody. And sometimes they're not somewhere where a GPS can lead you. Sometimes they're out in the middle of a field, 18 miles from the, closest highway. So things like that I can see relate to what I'm doing today. And it's kind of neat watching that progression over the years.
Man, I will say this. Video games did not help my spatial reasoning. I once got lost on the way home from work.
Yeah, maybe some of that's just natural for me too, because I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people that should be able to navigate that can't.
I am one of those people.
Yeah, several of our siblings are one of those people. So, but I mean, our mall, our local mall, is set up like a giant hallway, and then there's stores on either side, and yet still I can go in there with people and go into one of the stores, and they come out and they can't figure out what direction they came from and what direction they're going. It's just one strip. It's left or right. There's no maze, nothing confusing at all about it, and they still can't figure it out.
My husband is one of those people.
I think for me, it's because it's not a maze. If it was a maze, I'd be fine. But because it's just a straight shot, I'm like, I don't know what to do in this situation. This is not like a roguelike dungeon at all.
You keep telling yourself that, Kier.
All I'm saying is it would be better if there were a lot more corridors and I had a torch.
Well, I tell you, I went through one of those like, hay bale mazes one year around Halloween, and they give you a little map to guide you, and it's just kind of like a top-down view, but it's a pretty tricky maze even with the map, and they have people like posted to kind of guide you along just in case you can't figure it out. And we had somebody else with the map for the longest time, and we were just going in circles, and then finally they handed the map to me, and it was instantly like, I am in a video game. I know how to do this. I can navigate using this map. It's just my mini map, and I will get through this maze, and it was great. It's the best thing ever.
But do you have the little pointer on the little mini map that tells you where you are and what direction you're facing?
There's landmarks on the mini map.
Oh, well, that works.
He was just like, hey, if you're at this part in the maze, you're at this part on the mini-map. So there you go.
So confession time. I went to a corn maze recently, and I got horribly lost. So my argument's right out the window. Luckily, my
You didn't have
daughter
a
was there,
torch.
and she successfully navigated us out. So
Go, Wendy. I still say you were just missing the torch. I bet you didn't have a torch.
that's well, they frown upon that in a corn maze.
That's why I'm making that assumption that you didn't have one. Otherwise,
But
I think you would have been there brandishing your
I'm
torch.
standing by it. If I had a torch, I would have been fine.
You would have figured out a way out. You had to make it yourself. Silence.
I know, right? Everything gets quiet. That's something that hasn't happened very often either.
My new hobby is I wait until an awkward silence falls in the conversation, and then I intentionally don't say anything to see how long I can draw it out.
See, and I'm not. I embrace silence in a way that a lot of people can't. So I could see us getting into trouble if we tried to play that game with each other.
I think after a while,
What?
I was going to say, it gives me a chance to think. So I'm all for silence.
Yeah, for me, like after a while, I just start shifting uncomfortably. Like I'm not actually uncomfortable. I'm just trying to mimic that and see if I can get others to do the same. And like occasionally I just go, ooh, ooh, ooh. Make little start singing the Jeopardy song or
The best,
That's
and
not
you can only
silence.
you can only do this with certain people, but the best is when like the silence has lasted long enough that you just kind of start reaching out slowly towards the other person and just kind of like run your hand along their shoulder or just touch their face randomly. Just be like, this is how I'm breaking the silence.
Wow.
That does not make it more
See?
awkward at all.
No. Oh, my goodness. I would run from you. If you weren't my family, I would run from you.
Well, that's why I said you can only do it with certain people.
I am not usually one of those people.
You have to know ahead of time. You have to know your audience. Now that we have successfully just gotten so off track, I think we're done with our growing up geek topic, unless anybody else has anything else to
Did you
add.
have something he wanted to add? Because he really didn't.
I am a music geek, as you all know, and I used to visit Frank Frost when I went to the Hell of Music Festival, and Frank's place, or Eddie Mae's Cafe, and we would often just sitting there next to each other for a half hour or more, just sit there and not say a thing.
All right, let's go to break.
Thanks for enjoying our Related to Geeks podcast. Download the MP3 from our website, relatedtogeeks.com, and you can also listen on our YouTube channel.
All right, everybody, we're going to wrap up this episode with our pick of the week, and we're going to start with Dad. How about you?
Okay, my pick of the week is Voat.co, V-O-A-T, as in goat with a V, .co. It is kind of like a downscale Reddit. Reddit was having some issues with personnel management a few weeks back, and this was the most frequently listed alternative, and I kind of like it. It's you get more conversations and more, not just, I don't know, Reddit's all kind of mean kids. You got a lot of mean kids, you know what I'm saying? And this is more like not nearly as many people, and so you can actually get to know people through the conversations. And I'm doing helping with the freeculture subvote or whatever it is, subreddit, freeculture, which they also have over on Reddit. They have most of the stuff that they have on Reddit, and not as active, of course. And so that's one of the reasons I want to look up that sound effects site, is to add the link into the freeculture subvote.
Nifty.
So there's my pick of the week. Voat.co, V-O-A-T as in goat.
Yeah, vote as in goat.
Yes.
The vote goat.
The vote goat.
Yeah.
All right. Kier, how about you?
My pick of the week is a role-playing game called Icons. And I recently picked up the Assembled Edition. And it's a game by Stephen Kinson, who previously wrote probably one of the most famous superhero role-playing games out there, called Mutants and Masterminds. And Icons is designed to be kind of a simpler, stripped-down, more leaning towards random role character generation, and all of the art and all of the text and everything inside the book really gives it that Saturday morning superhero cartoon feel. And I picked it up to run a one-off game at the superhero game day at the library I was talking about earlier, and I really like the mechanics for it. I really highly recommend people check it out.
I can't wait to see how that goes for you on Saturday.
I can't wait to see it either.
Cool.
There's a classic puzzle game, I think it's color matching, called Mastermind.
Yep.
Yep. We played that as a kid. I remember that game.
I did not play that as a kid.
I think I really liked that game. I don't know that. I mean, it was definitely a you know it, right, Kier?
Yeah, I know it. Actually,
yeah.
a fun, odd fact I learned about that. The original cover had kind of this model-looking girl and this guy who was in a business suit behind a table, and he looked very serious. And there was originally supposed to be a cat in the picture in the guy's lap, but the cat peed on the guy.
Oh, gross.
and so they pulled the cat out, but they said, you know what? Let's go ahead and do the photo shoot. So anytime you see the cover of Mastermind, remember that serious-looking business guy has a lap full of cat pee.
Well,
Oh, wow.
I'm just saying that, you know, it's a good thing he went with the plural masterminds, or it would have been a total rip.
They're really the exact same.
Sarah. Hey, Sarah, what's your pick?
I have actually been really into planning, like calendars and stuff, but using it decorative with stickers and stuff like that. And I have been watching a lot of YouTube videos and stuff on it, and I bought about a month ago MAMBI, or Me and My Big Ideas Happy Planner, which I absolutely love. It's the same kind of system as the ARC system that you can get at Staples, the disc bound, where you can pull the stuff out and put it back in. It's not spiral bound. It's not really, it almost acts like a coil bound planner, just in the way it looks, but you can actually take pages out and add pages to it if you have the right punches or whatever, which was important to me. I didn't want a spiral bound one, but I just absolutely love the system, and it's in the scrapbooking section at a lot of craft stores and such. But I've just been making my planners pretty so that I can remember when I have to do blog posts and stuff, because otherwise I remember at 1 o'clock in the morning that it's due the next day, and that's never good for me.
I find my best writing happens at 1 o'clock in the morning before the things. That's at least what got me through college.
The issue with this is I'm usually having to do some sort of creative project as well as writing something. So if I'm starting that at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm finishing it at like 4 or 5 or the next morning or whatever, and that's not.
Yeah. I love the idea of like that really decorative planning, and I acquired some supplies for it, but I've just never been one to actually sit down and do it. Usually I just, scrawl some random crap in there, and then, like, if it's like an event more than a day, then my decoration is like a strip of washi tape just
Tape.
landed over those multiple days. And then I'm just like, yep, that's decorated. It's pretty.
The reason this works for me is because I like to look at pretty things. So if I've got all the stickers and stuff in my planner, I will look at it. Otherwise, it'll get filled in for about a day, and then I will never open it again. So I've found that it's worked for me for a month now. I do, like, Sunday night, we'll usually watch, we've been watching, like, battle bots and stuff on Sunday night. So I'll sit down with the planner and my sheet of stickers and just kind of decorate it as we're watching it, because there's a lot of fluff in that. I will watch the actual battles, but just listen to everything else. So I'm sure there'll be.
Me. I need to watch BattleBots this week.
I think the season's over now. So, but I'm guessing you haven't seen the. We have seen it. I decorated my planner while we watched it.
All right. Well, my pick of the week, since we've segued to it so nicely there, is the 10th Kingdom, which I have recently started rewatching. It is quite an older miniseries, and I was just checking on Netflix. It was on streaming for a time, but it seems to be only DVD right now. But I'm sure the DVD is fairly inexpensive too if you just want to buy it outright. Definitely worth it. I started watching it. I watched Into the Woods last week, and I wasn't too impressed with Into the Woods, but I still am glad I watched it because it made me want to rewatch the 10th Kingdom. And the 10th Kingdom is just great, but it's that same concept of all the fairy tales kind of blended together, but then it also has some modern folks who are part of the 10th Kingdom that go into this magical land that's made up of the other 9 kingdoms that are, basically remnants of the past fairy tales where, Cinderella ruled over one and Snow White ruled over another kingdom. And it's kind of, the after the happily ever after, and the years where all that stuff's starting to degrade and fall apart on them, and they're exploring that land. And it's really good. It's really just, I think, one of the best. I think when we originally watched it, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we originally watched it, we rented it, and it came on 2 VHS tapes. And, it's a mini-series, so it's fairly long, and I think each tape, showed how long each individual tape was, but they were cut perfectly the same amount of time. So we thought it was the entire duration, and so we sat down the night before we had to return it to watch it, and it would have been 5 to 6 hours worth of content to watch before we had to return it the next day, had that been the actual length. But no, that was the length of just one tape, yet we still sat down and watched the entire 10-hour mini-series in a single evening the first time we watched it, because it was just that good.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Into the Woods is one of my daughter's absolute favorite musicals.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the movie she wasn't as crazy about, but she really likes the Broadway musical that you can rent and watch with Bernadette Peters and
See, and I've never seen
Joanna
that.
Gleason.
I just watched the movie. I just watched the movie. I figured the musical was better. The movie I was kind of about.
Yeah, now, as far as it goes, none of us went to the movie and went, well, this was a complete waste of time. We all found things in it that we enjoyed, but we all came out of it with well, that was different. It was very different.
Apparently, you should watch the 10th Kingdom now.
That's what I'm wondering, is it appropriate for 14-year-old? Probably.
Oh, yes.
TV miniseries. So,
yeah.
So, I remember when it came out.
One of the great video fantasies of all time. The best part is the whiter shade of pale. The worst part is Snow White. So, be prepared.
Yeah. Well, we
Spoiler.
Gosh, Dad.
I remember when it came out, and I remember kind of a little bit of hype that surrounded it, just in I think it was still when I was working in theater at that point in time, maybe even, or I don't remember when it came out. I was just probably around people who were geeky enough to be excited about it. But I knew y'all watched it, but there were other people in my life that were really excited about it and watching it, but I never got a chance to see it. So, and I had totally forgot about it until you just mentioned it. But as soon as you said fairy tales and all of that stuff, I was like, yeah, maybe that'd be something that we should try to track down and watch.
It's good stuff.
I think we have the VHS tape.
I have it on DVD, which is probably more convenient for you.
Yeah, we do have a VHS player still, but it is not hooked up. It's just kind of in our closet.
So the just FYI, the kind of description of the 10th Kingdom on Netflix is: Central Park has a magic portal leading to a fantastic world of talking dogs and evil trolls. No, it's not New Jersey.
That's awesome.
So that's the 10th Kingdom in a nutshell. Really good. You should go watch it.
Okay. Well, you
Absolutely.
should, if you get to come to the library, bring me the discs.
Jeez. Didn't realize there was going to be so much work to this podcast stuff.
I'm demanding too.
I tell ya. All right, so I think that pretty much wraps us up for this week. And like I said, we're gonna try to do this every 2 weeks. Is that what we're shooting for?
That works for me. If it works for everybody else.
So we're definitely not gonna be a weekly podcast. We're gonna be a hopefully when we get to it about every 2 weeks podcast. So just FYI going into this, but we will keep it pretty regular for you guys. And we appreciate you listening, and hope to catch you next time. Bye.
Catch you later.